Hello, we are live. I think we should be. I guess
I
we'll
am
find out
I
in a
am
minute.
alive.
Looks like everything is working properly today, so that's
Oh,
always a bonus.
good.
How are you? How was work? How was your day? How is life?
Life is wonderful. It's fun living the pirate's life, I should say. I'm even wearing a pirate themed shirt today.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Oh, I guess I could have just pulled this, but you know, what does it say on the back here? It says like obey the
Embrace the Tao, or you walk the plank.
yeah yeah. Whoa. And then there's my my phone or my microphone walking the plank. Yeah, tonight was over at Pirates Dinner Adventure. Um, am I allowed to talk about my place of employment? I don't know.
Yeah, you should be as long as you're not talking for them, you should be okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not talking. Yeah, but that's where I was working tonight, and show was good. People had fun. Hopefully they enjoyed themselves.
Yeah, that's always the hope. Hopefully, Donnie will enjoy himself this evening as well. Uh, but I guess we'll see. If you don't enjoy yourself, Donnie, too bad. I guess.
Nah, I'm well, Don. Thank you. I am well.
So today, ooh, as it says in the description, we are talking about the season finale of Enterprise, season 1, Shockwave, part 1.
Ooh, which originally had the title Untitled
Season
Season
finale.
Finale.
Also, they weren't sure whether they wanted to end this first season on a cliffhanger or not, because this was the first Star Trek season that ended on a
On a
cliffhanger,
cliffhanger. Hmm.
which is kind of
The
interesting. Oh,
was it
go
the
ahead.
first season or the first season that ended on a
The
cliffhanger?
first season,
That's okay. Yeah.
because there's been it's it started with TNG,
Hmm.
sometime around, I want to say, season 4, I think.
The Borg
Um,
one.
it was either I want to say it was the Borg one, because we had the Borg,
That's
um,
fine.
the Mark Twain episode. Um, then there was the what was the next season finale? Was it the Cardassian one with Picard? The there are four lights. What was that, a season finale or was that mid season?
uh, let me see. Star Trek, the most daring cliffhanger. See, hang
What
on.
do you got?
Sorry. Now there are four lights. I'm looking up two things now. Chain of Command. Um, it is not a
Okay, so that was
cliffhanger.
mid
It is
season.
its own episode. The story of the most daring cliffhanger in Next Generation history. It was all of us were quite thrilled they had the balls to leave Picard on the Borg cube.
Right.
Best of Both Worlds, Part One, and that was.
Well, here, I've got a list of all of the episodes here. So season one ended with the neutral zone. That was not uh, a cliffhanger. Season two ended with Shades of Grey. That was also not a cliffhanger. Season three ended with Best of Both Worlds Part One. So that was the first cliffhanger. That was the
Yeah,
first TNG
that's
cliffhanger.
that's the Borg one. So it was the
Right.
Borg one.
Yeah,
Yes, I was right. Yay.
and that's also, I think, the first cliffhanger in Star Trek.
There were no cliffhangers in original.
I don't believe so. Um, Now, season one did have a um, a storyline that kind of went over the first season. It was the those weird parasite things that infest
Hmm.
that got it to the higher up people, and were controlling them. But none of the episodes that took place in were cliffhanger hanger endings. It just kind of happened.
Got
Um,
you.
so let's see. Season four ended with Redemption Part One. That was, let's see, which one was this? Oh, I get it. Part one, Arbiter, Gowron. Oh, that was the Klingon. That was the Klingon one. The Civil War. Gowron gives Worf the opportunity to kill Tyrrell by right of vengeance, but he declines to do so because Tyrrell was a puppet of his aunt's. He spares Tyrrell's life and requests Picard to reinstate him in Starfleet. Then part 2. Oh wait, sorry. That was the end of part 2. The Wikipedia is so weird with how they do it. Gara and the Enterprise crew learned that the Duras sisters are assembling a fleet to incite civil war. So
Right, yeah.
so
That
that
was a
was the
good
part 1, part
episode.
2.
That
Yeah,
was a good
I like that
episode.
one.
Yeah.
Season 5 was the Mark Twain one, Times Hour Part 1, where they go back in time and we meet the younger version of Guinan.
Yes, which
And
was
then
also a good episode.
the season 6 finale was Descent. Um, let's see. Data plays a game of poker with holographic representations of Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, Stephen Hawking. Let's see. Searching the planet. Picard, Troy's enter a building. Oh, this is the other Borg one. When Lore comes back.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then he leaves with Lore, and then part 2 picks up with Lore manipulating Data's emotion chip.
Got you.
So that was all the TNG stuff. We don't
And
get
then
into Deep Space Nine, but
okay. I was going to pull up
oh,
DS9 right
oh,
here.
okay. I mean that's a lot.
Yeah.
But DS9 shifted halfway through the series, not even halfway through the series, maybe a third of the way through the series to a more serialized format. There were a lot of like standalone episodes, but the storylines were usually season wide in the later half of the season. So there were quite a few episodes outside of the season finales that were cliffhangers.
Yeah.
So back to Enterprise, the season 1 finale. This was the first
Best
season.
of Both Worlds was the very first cliffhanger in Star Trek, though.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So this was the first season finale cliffhanger.
Yes. Which, I mean, that's kind of daring. Not so much nowadays.
Well, now it actually is kind of daring, because if you don't know if your show's gonna get picked up for the next season, then you're just kind of like leaving it to go wherever.
That's true.
Like there's I think my favorite story about that is both Chuck and the 4400. Both shows, they didn't know if they were going to get renewed from one season to the next after, I want to say, season 2. So all of their season finales from that point forward were kind of formatted to also work as a series finale.
Oh, okay.
Where they were left open so you could go forward, but so that it also closed.
But they
out,
resolved.
But they resolved the big mystery or the big story of that season too. Just
okay.
Work.
What was the big mystery of Chuck? He was a computer hacker, right?
No, sort of. So Chuck was he basically worked for the equivalent of Geek Squad. At what was it? The Buy More was their version of Best Buy. And he had gone to a highly prestigious technical college. Was on his way to getting a degree in computer sciences, but ended up taking the fall for something and got kicked out.
Okay.
And never finished his degree, or ended up dropping out because of it or something. But the guy who led to him dropping out of college ended up becoming a spy. And
right at the beginning of the episode, doesn't he like die, but he gives him some info or something?
So we're led to believe that he dies. The character is played by what's his name? He was in White Collar. He voiced Superman a couple of times. Matt Bomer. Matt Bomer was played this character. But
spoiler alert, he didn't really die.
He didn't really. This show is like 15 years old now, so
okay.
I think we're past.
We're past that. I think I watched like the first few episodes of Chuck.
But so he gave Chuck this experimental pair of glasses that downloaded. Like, you remember the computer wore tennis shoes?
Yes.
Where like Kirk Cameron or Kurt Russell, depending on which version it was, basically got like the entire internet downloaded into their brain.
Right.
Chuck got the entire NSA and FBI databases downloaded into his brain that he was able to access like pretty much on the fly.
Oh, okay. So he became like a
He became a government asset.
asset. Okay.
Right, right,
But
right.
he had no skills. So
He
it's
had no
just like
skills as a
it's him
spy.
being like,
Right,
"Whoa."
right, right. And then over the course of the series, they train him and he
Yeah,
learns
he
whatever
gets
whatever. Um, and then what's kind of interesting to me though too is that in the 4400, or not the 4400, sorry, in Chuck's dad was played by Scott Bakula,
Oh, so
who
you
was
think
also a
Archer
spy.
so you think Archer was actually
Yes.
the dad?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
It
So
was
now
Daniel sent him back in time,
time
and it just kind of
to yeah.
everything kind of blew up.
So
The
that's actually how the Federation or Starfleet was made because they downloaded it all into Chuck's
Right, right, right,
brain,
right.
and his dad would have known. Now in the 4400, which Star Trek character from Enterprise is the influence in that?
Um, no, I don't think there was anyone from Enterprise, but Billy Campbell was in it.
Oh, okay.
So the Outrageous Okona
Uh-huh,
was
uh-huh.
one of the major players in that show, but it was also created by Ira Stephen Bear, who was one of the
Hmm.
lead writers on Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
So like all these shows kind of have like that Star Trek connection to them,
Okay. Cool.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that makes sense. Before we go back into Star Trek, speaking about shows that have nothing to do with Star Trek, but everything to do with entertainment, Dexter season 9, I think it is. John Lithgow's got in it.
Yeah,
It,
yeah, yeah. It
it,
comes
it
back. I never
it's
got
a
in.
brief thing,
Yeah, I never
apparently.
got into Dexter.
Oh, I
So,
love
but
Dexter.
from what I understand, there's questions about how John Lithgow's character is coming back because of how his
Yeah.
arc ended.
Well, he died. Um, but they're saying that based on the way that they're writing this season, it makes sense. My guess is it has something to do with his dark passenger,
Hmm.
because there are so many people that Dexter had killed or had seen killed that came back to him in visions and things that he saw because of his dark passenger. So my guess is it has something to do with that. And John Lithgow, of all the villains, was the most integral to Dexter becoming who he was. But apparently John Lithgow's only filming one day. They're filming in LA.
Hmm. I
So
wonder if we can find where there's. Well,
get me
it's
on that
not so.
show.
So with
Get Devereaux on that show.
COVID precautions, everything's gonna be a lot different. When I first came out to LA looking for work back in, I want to say it was 2010. I actually ended up finding where they were shooting Chuck one day, and
Yeah.
went down there and hung around and talked with a bunch of the crew guys and got to watch them film a couple of the scenes before they moved to indoor locations and I couldn't hang out anymore. That was a really disappointing day. It was a good day, but it was also disappointing because I ended up finding like one of the production coordinators that I could talk to, and because it was their last season, they weren't looking to hire any more crew because they had like just hired an additional PA, and they
Right.
were like, "Oh, if you had been here yesterday, we actually would have had a
We
job
would
for
have,
you,
yeah,
but we had to fill a spot today, and
yeah.
sorry." So that was kind of disappointing. Also,
Such is the industry.
Star Trek adjacent, Simon Pegg, who played Scotty in the J.J. Abrams movies, is now working on a Galaxy Quest TV series.
What?
So originally they were like Amazon had one in the works. Now I guess Simon Pegg has picked it up and is trying to make it into a project for himself.
Okay.
I mean
What
I'm down. I'm down.
do we know what angle he has going on this?
Let me see if I can find out. It looks like, um, no, just that it's being worked on.
Okay. Well, that'll be
At least
cool. I
that's
love
all I'm
seeing
seeing.
Simon Pegg Productions because like the Good Omens that came out, not Good Omens. Good Omens was great. That wasn't Simon Pegg.
And Good Omens is coming back for a season two.
They are okay, good. They are doing season 2. Is it based on any of the writings that had existed between the two of them, because they never made a Good Omens 2, but they did have like an idea sketched out.
Yeah, so Neil Gaiman said, Gaiman, no, whatever it is.
I think Gaiman.
He has said that even though they never wrote an actual sequel to Good Omens, which I have right here,
Yep.
um,
Cool.
they had talked at length about what they
Yes.
would do for a
He even
sequel.
has notes about it.
Yeah, so he has stuff to go on, and
Yeah.
that's what they're going to be using for that second
And
season.
it was Terry Pratchett,
Terry
right?
Pratchett, yeah,
Yeah.
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 Who he passed away? I want to say like 5 years ago now, maybe 6.
Yeah. If anybody wants to get PS5 bundle in stock at Sam's Club right now, get it
Bundles.
online.
I mean,
You got to
I
have a membership at Sam's Club, though.
I would buy a bundle if it was like an extra controller or something along those lines, like an accessory that I was already planning to get. But I hate these bundles where it's like assorted random games or an extra controller, an extra battery pack, the camera, 2 games, and something else that's like $800, and I'm like, I don't want any of these things.
No, I just want the controller. Yeah, controller and maybe a game, because I'm gonna buy a game anyway.
Right.
Um, but too bad we don't have like 1,000 people watching, so that would actually be useful information. Although Donnie, if you want your PS5, get it right now at Sam's Club.
Or Jamie, if you
And
want right now.
yeah, well, I don't have a Sam's Club membership,
Oh.
but if it was Costco, I could do it. Yeah. But the 30 people that watch this over the course of the next 5 days,
Hey,
I'm sorry that you missed out.
we might get more. The Rick and Morty watch along that I did with Shay on Sunday night. We're at like
Yeah.
almost 4.1K on that one.
Wow. How many of these though? Because they expect the episode to be on there.
Right? Yeah, I'm refusing to look at that.
Hey,
but if people would read the description,
yeah, and
that
it's
would be a
also
thing.
just, any press is good press, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, But anyway, let's get into this episode, because
Yes.
there actually is a lot to talk about with this episode of the show.
Oh, I'm glad you think so, because I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think so at all. I think this episode is rather lame for a season finale.
Okay, well, let's start with that. Continue and tell us why.
Okay. Well, are you sure you don't want to start with you? Because since you've got a lot that you want to talk about with it.
Yeah, because
is that wine that you have?
No. It's juice.
Oh, okay.
But it is in a Star Trek glass.
Yes. Ooh. Yeah. I couldn't really see the emblem on there.
Yeah, it's probably gonna be hard to see because of the gloss.
There we go. If you pull it further away, you can see the top of the communicator.
I'll try and get through it before we finish, so I can.
Right. Don't go too crazy.
Yeah. That juice. I might get a sugar high.
Woo-hoo. No, but yeah, I don't know. I remember watching it the first time too, and I was just kind of like, once they get about 2/3 of the way through the episode, then I'm kind of intrigued, but then it goes off the rails in another direction. And it just felt very janky to me. It felt like we're going this way, then we're going this way, then we're going this way, then we're going this way.
To me, it felt, I think, lopsided.
It was too scientific on the front end.
See,
I love Star Trek for it. I love Star Trek for the science, but it was like it was all tactics and science, and then okay, now we're going to be action heavy. And I know that as the series progressed, I think they were up against Babylon 5 at the time. I think that was around the same time, was it? Or what other shows?
I think it was shortly after Babylon, because I think Babylon 5...
no, Babylon 5 was DS9.
Yeah.
But I know they were trying to be a little more action heavy because that's
Battlestar Galactica? Was it
maybe it was Galactica.
No, I think Galactica was after Enterprise.
I don't recall, but regardless of the case, I know that they were trying to be more action heavy. And
2004 is when Battlestar Galactica came out.
Okay, so they were getting ready for Galactica, I guess. This was 2002. So I saw that, but it was a very abrupt switch from the whole entire first season.
So I think what happened is, in a perfect world, because obviously, we can't go back and change this, and telling people and telling people who write these things, be like, oh
Well,
well,
we
why didn't
just
you do
need
this, or why didn't you
we
do
just
that,
need Daniels to come, and then we
right?
can.
He should have. I think he should have. They should have had more episodes with him. Like
That would have been helpful
they
too, as opposed
they
to him just
killed him
reappearing.
off
Hmm.
in that one episode, but I feel I for me I think what part of the issue with this episode is that it was only built up over one or two other episodes out of 26
Hmm.
in the season.
Yeah, they
If
didn't even have a lot with the Suliban up until this
Yeah,
point, and then it becomes a major thing in season 2.
right. Well, so that the last time we saw the Suliban was in Detained.
Detained. But
Um,
we did not see enemy Suliban in that one.
right. So we didn't know what they were up to at
Sorry,
that point.
sorry, buddy.
This mysterious figure in the like from the future.
Yeah. Do we
Like
ever find out who that is? I still can't remember.
I don't
We
think
never
so.
do, because there's the episode, and we'll get to it, when Archer jumps out, but that was just that moment. It was not like Archer pre-planning it the whole time.
Right. Yeah, I don't think we do.
That's another thing. Like the Terran, the
Tendarans.
people, the Tendarans, who we never hear
From
from again.
yeah.
It was another
So
one of those
yeah,
things.
so we got the Tendarans and Detained, and then we got that one in the Ryza episode,
Hmm.
and yeah, and that was it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I understand why people wouldn't like this episode. I don't think it was a like a standout episode.
No, and for a season finale, I was very disappointed, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah. Like when
So
I
I
said
guess there is a lot to talk
yeah,
about.
so
It's
yeah,
just not
that
positive on my
right,
end.
right. That's so let me rephrase what I was saying before. There's a lot to talk about with this episode. That doesn't mean that all of it is good.
Fair enough. I cut you off.
Um, but no,
I
what
just, I guess I subscribe to the fact that if you don't have nice things to say, don't say anything at all.
well, it's
But then why would we be here?
right, yeah, exactly, and we talk about things like we critique things in episodes that we really like too.
That's true.
And that's part of criticism. We don't have to focus only on the good stuff or only on the bad stuff. Like Black Widow. You will find out my thoughts on that on July
You,
9th when the
oh,
movie comes out.
the general you, because I already know them.
The general you. We have a new podcast that we've started called the Illuminerdi POV. Point of view camera shot. But that will our first episode of that will drop on the 9th for
But it's a
the release of Black
podcast,
Widow.
so how is it a camera shot?
We have a camera version of it too.
Oh, okay.
We've got both. So if you just want to listen to us chat about it, you'll be able to download it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or where Stitcher. I think we're on.
See, I knew the answer to that. I was just saying it for all of you there.
Right. And the video version of it will be going up on our YouTube channel.
Right on.
But with that, well, we have a lot of good things to say about it, and we have a lot of things that aren't necessarily good either.
Kind of like this episode.
But that's not to say that we didn't like the movie. It's just that it's you have to talk when you're talking about these things, you talk about the good and the bad because that's fair.
And
sometimes there's not going to be anything good to talk about.
No.
And sometimes there's not going to be anything bad to talk about.
Well, to be fair to this episode, it is part of a two-parter.
Right.
And the cliffhanger, I enjoy. I enjoy the cliffhanger. Once we get the Daniels stuff out of the way, I'm kind of on board. But it is very, very abrupt, and I think you're right in that we didn't bring back Daniels earlier, even in a way to just be like, oh, we're meeting an earlier version of Daniels. Or no, he really didn't die. He reconstituted because time
right. The
authority can do that.
Or the timeline changed, so his future changed, so he never actually really died.
He never really died, because we actually see that in, I think, the Voyager episode when they go to Earth. Because remember, there's
Yeah,
that time agent who, when they get on Earth, he's rummaging through trash and everything.
Was that the Sarah
Or
Silverman episode?
the Sarah Silverman episode.
Yeah.
And then later they meet him and he doesn't remember that because time had changed, and
Right.
so his character had never gone through that.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess if we're pulling
So
that, but the thing is, I know the writers aren't thinking about this
right,
because
right.
we even talked about an episode like 6, 7 episodes ago, the one that uh oh, what's his name was in, and he even said like, oh, this episode was just like the one we did back in TN or in DS9 or something like that.
The one that Michael Dorn directed. 'Cause
Some
that was the Risa one.
No, it wasn't the Ryza one. It wasn't the Dorn episode. It was an actor that had played in one of the
Jeffrey
other.
Combs.
Yeah, it was a Jeffrey Combs. No, crud. I can't. I'll have to go back because we talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll pull up while you start talking about some of the other stuff.
Okay, so for me, I think outside of the fact that we didn't get any more of the lead up to what transpired in this episode throughout the rest of the season, I think like for this episode specifically, I think if we
Mm.
had jumped to them learning about the Suliban quicker, it would have helped too. I think they spent too much time going back and forth with the "oh, Starfleet's gonna bring us home" and cry, 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 like all of that kind of stuff. I think that went on too long. If
Yes.
if that had been like cut in half, and we had found out that they were like, I mean, we knew they were innocent. Like we knew that they didn't cause this to happen. There was no way that they were going to let that happen in Star Trek.
Yeah.
Even if this was a new episode and we were just watching it like brand new, I don't
Yeah.
think either of us would have been like, "Uh oh, Starfleet's in trouble."
Right.
Like we would.
No, you don't feel the danger.
Right. You know, it's like when one of the main character dies in something. If it's not Game of Thrones, you're like, okay, this person's probably coming back.
Yes. And that is definitely it's Oasis. It's the episode with Renee Auberjonois.
Oh, right, right,
Because
right,
remember he mentions to or Bakula mentions to him like behind the scenes like, man, this is a really great episode. He goes, yeah, it's kind of like this other episode that we did.
right, right.
Uh um so yeah,
Yeah,
that's the episode. Uh yeah, anyway,
right,
that was the episode that I was thinking of.
right, right, right. So
Sorry.
with this, it like again, just to say it again for whatever
Yes,
reason.
so that I
Um,
can actually do a true
right.
response.
The beginning part, like I think it was Act One was stretched out too long. Like
Very,
so
very too long.
act here. Let me you know what, let me pop over. Let's do
I got
this.
the fandom up right now.
Okay, so I'm gonna share something, share a screen with you,
Yeah.
so you can see this here.
If I
So
wish they had gotten to Daniels sooner.
okay, so you're seeing the B-roll now that's popping up on the screen as we're talking about it, so you also know what's popping up. So these are just like pictures that I took, like screenshots I took throughout the course of the episode, and what's happening. So right now we're still in Act One, and everything that happened in Act One, I think, could have been cut down to the first half of the act instead of taking the entire first act of the show. It
To
could have
get
been
through it.
right,
Yeah.
because if Act One had ended with them finding the Suliban instead, then
Hmm.
I think that would have worked out a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah. It would have given them more to go with because it's too stretched out, and then at the end it's all like in that much time.
Right.
And it's just, oh, they can't see us, but or they can see us, but they don't know that we can see them, and it's just like, okay, but because Daniel said so, and we spent the whole first half of the episode wondering, did we do it? And I get like what you said, did they really die or whatever. Um, Now, one thing that I do give it credit for, and I must add that this is a part one.
Yeah.
And it now, if we were looking at these together, my opinion will change, because when we talk about Shockwave Part 2, then because I do like Shockwave Part 2. And thinking of these as a whole, I like it. But thinking of this one individually, the structure is way off, and they could have definitely uh, done more with it. It seems like they were affected by budget, possibly even that they didn't have enough budget to do as much as they may have wanted to do. Because we already know, based on the last episode, when they got to Ryza, they were already low on budget.
Right.
So, that's a possibility. Um, but that said, uh, in the beginning of it, they want to, and as you mentioned, they want us to feel the pain of like these people dying, this colony. I was expecting them to retcon it somehow and the colony become okay. I thought it's a bold choice, and this is again getting into part two of it, which it's a bold choice that they kept the colony dead. That was something that didn't change. That was a new part of the timeline, and so they had to adjust.
Yeah.
That was
I
cool,
mean, I
but we don't
haven't.
find that out till the next episode.
Right. Well, I won't find that out till the next episode either because I haven't watched the second episode yet. Um, but for me, it's I think that this whole beginning part of the episode just kind of it didn't work because we knew that the Enterprise wasn't to blame for what happened.
Yeah,
So the whole thing with them, with Archer, like throwing himself a pity party because they were getting recalled, and Paul going to Phlox uh, about possibly removing Archer from command because he was feeling sorry for himself and he was acting erratically. That didn't land for me either.
yeah,
Um,
no,
it just like
it fell flat.
yeah, it just it didn't feel like there were any stakes there
No,
for it because we knew that all of that was going to be resolved in either in this episode or the next one.
and
Um,
and to be fair, it doesn't. I mean, well, the colony doesn't, but
but
them,
we don't know that though.
no, we don't. But we even know halfway through the episode that they didn't cause the problem. So at that point, as an audience member, we're like, oh, okay, then everything's all right. Granted, we're sitting here like, oh, well, 4,000 colonists are dead, but they don't really bemoan that fact too much. Even when he pulls the admiral up in later in the episode, the
It's
admiral's
like,
like,
hey, we're not to blame.
we're not to blame. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
We didn't kill these people, and it's and he's so he's happy, and
yeah,
I get it's like, thank God we're not the ones who did it, but at the same time it's like, come on, show some freaking respect to
At the same
4,000 dead people.
right at the same time, and now it's like, okay, we're not to blame, but we got to get the Suliban.
Yeah, we gotta do something. And it's just like, well, we're gonna tell the Vulcans and all that, which I do know what happens in the next episode, so I won't. I've already said something, so I forget that we're only doing part one, so I should
Yeah.
keep my knowledge to part one. Um, but I really do like part two, which and I like where they go from it. So I guess that's why I want to talk about it. But we'll get to that next week. Oh yeah, there's the episode of an extreme. Well, he's not happy in that one. That's when he's pissed off. But
Yeah.
um, and then there's the mystery man.
Oh, well, that's Silic.
No. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at.
Oh, you're looking at the
I'm looking.
YouTube screen.
Yeah, I'm looking at the YouTube screen.
Not what we're looking
Yeah,
at.
which is ahead.
Yeah. Well, it's actually behind.
Oh, is it behind?
Yeah. So this is all in a loop.
Oh, we're looping now.
Yeah.
I see. Because I was like, I already saw that on that one, but not on that one. Yeah, there's Silic on the YouTube channel. On the YouTube. Yeah, I'm
now,
not.
I do like the guy that plays Silic though.
He's fantastic.
Like he's just got that like smarmy like we're gonna get you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's also he's charming enough as an actor that I don't hate him enough to want him to be gone.
Yeah,
Like I actually want more of him as a villain.
he actually kind of reminds me a little bit of Wei Yun from Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like the character traits that he has
Mm-hmm.
are very similar to how Wei Yun was, and I think if we got even Gul Dukat a little bit too, like with
Yeah.
because Dukat was always like, haha, Cisco, I got you now.
Yeah. And then there are
Oh
times where you're like in it with Ducat. You're just like,
yeah,
okay, yeah, and then, oh no, you got me again, Ducat. Which that was a character. Like Wei Yun, you kind of always knew where he was gonna be.
right,
Um, except for the episode where there was the Wei Yun who kind of went against his programming.
right.
Um, but you kind of always knew where Wei Yun would end up being, even if he didn't like what was happening. His allegiances always lied with the founders. But Ducat, like, there
Well,
were
he
moments
was out for himself.
he was out for himself, which made me believe that there were times that he really was reforming and doing better because he's out for himself, and so he's gonna live the best way that he can. But then once he got a hold of those paw wraiths and everything, then it's just like
Yeah.
all hell breaks loose.
Well,
Um,
he's one of those characters who, and this is a trope in a lot of shows where the longer a show is on, if you have a villain who starts off at season who you get at season one, at
yeah,
some point he's going to be working with the good guys. Like it's like that happens with the Flash, that happened with
yeah,
Green Arrow, that Superman. Like
yep,
like all of these things, you always
yeah.
get villains who are like, oh well, we reformed this villain.
And
Oh no, we
sometimes they
didn't.
do, and then sometimes they didn't. Like, I mean, not everybody is Bucky Barnes.
Right? Yeah. But Bucky, I mean, if you know the comic books and you know the source material, you know that Bucky was going to not be a bad guy forever.
Yeah. But the thing is a lot of people didn't know that. And something that I love talking about, and I was very fortunate to Devro, her and I got to tell her about this, and I enjoyed telling her, and she enjoyed receiving the information, was how Bucky was the joke of the Marvel universe, not cinematic, but Marvel universe for a long time, because it was a big joke of, no hero stays dead except for Bucky Barnes because
Right.
he was dead for so long. He's the only one who stayed dead. And then finally, was it the 90s, I think, that they
That
actually
sounds
resurrected
right.
him? I think it was in the 90s somewhere that Bucky Barnes actually got resurrected. Well, resurrected. Um, and so
And, like
uh,
originally, wasn't he also kind of like a Jimmy Olsen type character?
yeah, he was more a like,
Yeah,
yeah,
he was like a Robin from like
yeah.
Batman '66.
Whereas in the MCU, they really portrayed him as the heavy hitter at first, and then Steve Rogers but he
Right.
was still a heavy hitter.
Yeah.
But in the comics, the original Bucky was very much Robin-esque,
Yeah.
very very slender and do-goody, and all that kind of stuff.
Like wasn't he kind of like Skinny Steve?
Yeah, actually, yeah, the original Bucky Barnes was more Skinny Steve, which I wonder if that was maybe kind of a homage without
Maybe.
maybe that's homage. I don't know. I've never watched a making of to hear if the creators were like, we wanted to homage Bucky in that way, but we couldn't do it. So they made Captain Shoulders.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. But back to Enterprise. I mean, there were some moments that stood out to me, like this one that's up on the screen here. When they get Daniel's like little database thing, and who is it? Brain is fried for some reason. Dominic Keating. Malcolm is looking at the database. And he's like, oh, it's a Klingon. They've got information on this Klingon warship, and Archer was like, just the what, just the piece of information that we're looking for.
um,
And the moment with Trip where Archer is describing to him how to build these sensors that will find like find the cloaked vessels. And Trip is like, "How do you know this? This is like way beyond me. You're you."
Yeah, it was funny, but at the same time, it was kind of the same way with Daniels. Like, okay, I just take it on your word that you're alive. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean that was also like we got that same thing with T'Pol later on, where Archer is like explaining to her what happened, and she's like, "Listen, the Vulcan Science Council says that time travel
I'm
is not possible." And Scott Bakula is like, or Archer is like, "Dude, I just traveled in time. It's possible."
I do love that she pushes back enough that a part of me is like, okay, maybe it's really not time travel. Maybe it's mind, maybe it's like some illusion or something. Um, so it gives me enough of a doubt within the writing that maybe they're going to go for something different. But then it is humorous when uh dangerous but humorous. And this is kind of this is where I really do like what the episode did, and I thought it was a great choice to leave it with a cliffhanger at the end of season 1, in that they let him go. They let Archer go, and it's a touching moment. Like the earlier stuff we were talking about, it was a little hand and fist, a little heavy-handed.
Yeah,
Didn't
watching this, I'm actually now curious as to whether this moment was an inspiration for the beginning of the 2009 movie,
Oh,
when the captain uh, uh, turned to George Kirk, and was like,
uh-huh.
"All right, you're the captain now." He's like, "What?" And then the same thing
Huh.
happened later with Pike to both Spock and Kirk,
Spock and
where he's like,
Kirk.
You guys are in command now," and they're like, "Okay."
Yeah, that's a very good. I wonder, we should definitely look that up. But I like that moment, and I like the don't forget to feed Porthos, no cheese. Like
Yeah.
that moment felt earned to me. The other stuff felt a little too heavy-handed and a little unearned. But so he goes up in the turbo lift, he pops out, and he's in the alternate timeline future. But we go back to the bridge, and Silic is like, he's playing a dangerous game, and she goes, he's got to be on one of your ships. Paul says, and then Silic's like, whatever, and bugs out, and then we're just left with, oh shit,
They're
like,
gonna,
are they
they're,
good?
yeah.
They're going to get blown up.
See, now for me personally, I would have liked to see them get blown up
That's what I would have wanted to.
because we're led to believe in the future when Daniels comes out and he's like, "They told me that this was what was supposed to happen. That bringing you here was going to save the timeline, but now we're living in Mad Max world."
Yeah. Yeah. I would have liked to have seen it blown up, but what I would have liked is that a few of them got out in escape pods so that when I watched it the first time, I could conceivably think, "Oh,
They're
maybe
killing off
they
some of the
really
queue.
they are going to kill off some of
Crew.
the characters.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll, mainly the red shirts, but
Right.
maybe Travis gets killed, or even Phlox. I doubt they'd kill Phlox because there's only so many alien races they can work with at this
Right.
point. But maybe Hoshi gets killed, but Hoshi can't because of the translator. But Reed could,
I mean, they could
because
bring in a new translator. Like
that's true.
it's what, or rely more on the universal translator.
Yeah.
That is one aspect of modern storytelling that I do enjoy, is that they're not afraid to kill characters off anymore.
Yeah,
And
George R. R. Martin.
he, like, British
And he was
TV.
writing at that time.
Well, British TV had been doing that,
Oh,
uh,
for years.
but yeah, for years before Game of Thrones came out. Because like
Well, I
I
mean, that's Agatha Christie in a nutshell.
yeah, but like I watched was it Primeval, I think was the show, where like portals to the past were opening up and like dinosaurs were coming through into modern day London or
Oh,
something.
okay. Yeah, yeah.
But like every season, like they would kill off major characters from the show.
Well, freaking Torchwood did that, man.
Yeah, Torchwood did that too.
Oh, Torchwood tore my heart out. Love that show,
Yeah,
but damn, each season finale of Torchwood tore my heart
Mm-hmm.
out.
And that's one of the things that I like, because it gives you stakes.
Yes.
When you know that everyone is going to survive, it's like, okay, well, we know they're going to live. So on the one hand, you're like, okay, how are they going to get themselves out of this? I need to see what happens, because we know they're going to survive. So what's going to happen?
Which
But but having that little worm in the back of your head that says maybe they're not going to get out of it, or maybe this one of these people aren't going to come back,
yeah.
like that gives you suspense.
It's stakes. It's
Yeah,
suspense and stakes. And also like I mean, Walking Dead kind of does it, overdoes it.
yeah,
But that's also, part of The Walking Dead. I get it. Um, that honestly, and we're skipping ahead 3 seasons here, and I hope that we remember that I'm saying this now, so that when we get to the end of season 4, we can come back and see if I still feel the same way. But I just recently finished all of Enterprise.
yeah,
I think I finished it last week or the week before, and I really like the choice they made to kill off one of the major players. Um, it was in the last episode, but I really like that choice. Um, and it wasn't because of somebody's leaving the show or anything like that. It was, this is what we're going to do. Um, so I'm glad Enterprise takes that risk. I wish they had have taken it earlier. And even if it had just been a MacGuffin,
mm-hmm.
and once Daniels and Archer fix it, then they can get back in the timeline saved. But for a season finale, my heart would have been up in my throat for a minute.
Yeah. Well,
I, I,
so
I would have been thinking, oh, they're not going to completely change the timeline enough
so
to reverse everything.
Discovery kind of does that.
Okay, cool.
But they kind of screwed themselves with it though too.
Uh,
So at the end of season 1, something happens to Wilson Cruz's character,
mhm.
and you're led to believe that he's dead. Uh, but Wilson Cruz is doing all of the press for season 2. So like I interviewed the cast at Comic Con before season 2 was released, and
Uh-huh.
Wilson Cruz comes down, and I'm like,
What are you doing here?
yeah, I'm like, I don't know what to ask you about season 2, because are you in it? And he's like, maybe.
Baby.
So I'm like, okay, so you're coming back. So
Uh,
it's like it's one of those things where like they ruined the surprise. Like, I'm glad he was there to do the promotion stuff for it, uh,
right.
because like Wilson Cruz is just like a he's just fun. Both him and Anthony Rapp. Like, if you ever get the chance to meet Anthony Rapp somewhere,
I would love to meet Anthony
he
Rapp.
he is he is
Holy
so
crap.
he is so much fun to talk to. Because like I talked to him about Star Trek, I talked to him about video games, and like 'cause he's a nerd, he is a nerd. Um, so that was fun. But yeah, it's just one of those things where, like, when you kind of know what's going to happen, you don't necessarily know how it's going to happen, but the fact that this thing is coming,
Yeah.
sometimes it ruins the surprise. And that, I mean, that was one of my problems with Batman v Superman, was there were no stakes at the end of the movie, because
Mhm.
we knew Superman was going to be coming back in the next film.
In the very next movie.
Even like, sure, if they had killed him off, we knew that he would come back, but the fact that there weren't any movies in between him dying and him coming back just made his death meaningless. Whereas
Yeah.
if we had seen a world without Superman, like, given us like 3 movies or 4 movies where Superman just was gone, and we had to see the other heroes like step up to fill in, and
Yeah.
what that loss of Superman did to the world, that would have been a much different movie, and it
Yeah.
would have made those stakes a little bit better, because at that point we would have been like, oh well, how many movies are going to come out before Superman comes back? But we didn't get it, so
Yeah. That's
you
not
know
what they did. Also, how many villains can you throw at the world that they can take care of without him around?
I mean,
I mean, like they didn't even have freaking Darkseid come out. It's just Steppenwolf.
He came out. I mean, in Zack Snyder's Justice League, Darkseid is there a little bit more.
Well, he's there, but he's not fighting.
Yeah,
I mean, in the past he's fighting,
yeah,
but not in the present.
I mean, Snyder's version of it was better than the theatrical version, but
I did like the Snyder cut.
I still had a lot of issues with it overall, and that I think that was just because of my overall issues with the direction that the DCEU was going in. Like I thought, Man of Steel was a fantastic setup to what that universe could have been. Wonder Woman was really good and a fantastic setup for that character. But then Batman v Superman came in and they decided to bring in Doomsday and they decided to kill Superman off there, and it killed off what they could have done.
Yeah.
It was really disappointing. But
they felt they needed to rush out that team thing to do with the Avengers.
Yeah, they were trying. It's funny because I was having a conversation with Joe about not this, but about something else that kind of relates the same way. DC was trying to compete with Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't need to compete with Marvel.
They're doing their own thing.
Yeah, people will go see both Marvel movies and DC movies. No one's going to say, "Oh, well, I'm not going to go see Shazam 2 because I'm going to see Black Widow."
No, it's just I'm going to go see Black Widow, and then I'm going to go see Shazam 2.
Yeah, they're going to be like, okay, I'm going to make a decision about seeing the Black Widow this weekend, and then next weekend I'm going to go see Shazam.
Yes.
Like, they make too much of an issue out of, like, opening weekends. And like, they wouldn't pick the same opening weekend anyway, so it would be like, okay, well, this month I'm going to go see Black Widow, and next month I'm going to go see Shazam. Great.
Yep.
I've got 2 movies that I want to go see, and they're coming out.
They're already on. Yeah, exactly. Just like this week, I went to go see Shockwave Part 1, and next week I'm going to go see Shockwave Part 2.
Yeah. It's DC. They didn't need to compete. They didn't need to try and catch up with Marvel. They could have built their universe differently. Like maybe instead of doing solo movies, they could have done a bunch of like team up movies, like Superman and Batman, or Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. Aquaman and the Green Lantern. They could have like mixed and matched teams for individual movies to have something different than what Marvel was doing, and how because Marvel built up with solo movies, solo origin stories.
Yeah.
We got some of the characters in other movies.
And they were more of a comic fare, whereas DC tries to be a little more gritty and dark and everything, and that's fine.
Gritty and
even
dark
Shazam has a very dark visual to it. It's a lighter movie, but it's a very dark visual. And when the sins are out, that's some really dark shit that you don't see in any Marvel movie.
I don't know. It's just one of those things. I think it's created by these fan culture wars, like Star Wars versus Star Trek. Who cares? Watch them both.
They're both great.
They're both good.
Yeah, we're not 16 anymore. And even when I was 16, I didn't care. When I was like 12, I was like, yeah, Star Wars, boo, Star Trek. But like, I grew up and I realized both are amazing for different reasons, and they both fill a different niche in my heart and in my psyche.
It's this weird fandom mentality that they need to tear someone else's fandom down in order to promote theirs. It's like, oh, well, you must like those Marvel movies, I'm like, I also like the DC stuff. So what?
It's like, oh, you like South Park, so you must not like Family Guy. Family Guy's fine too.
They're not my favorite, but they're both hit or miss.
Yeah, they're both, and it's just like, not everything's going to be, as long as it's a fun story or a good story. It doesn't have to be fun. There are romance movies and dramatic movies and noir movies.
Like imagine taking that mentality into the rest of the things in your life. Oh, well, you like mac and cheese? You must hate lasagna. Like, what? How does that make
sense? What mac and cheese with meat is bad?
Yeah, I've never just never understood
I don't get it. I don't get it, and it's as long as you're not hurting somebody. But there is so much room for, and this is a beautiful thing that's happening in entertainment, specifically in the entertainment world, is that more stories are getting to be told now, and I hope that it continues. I hope that it grows because the market does not need to be so myopic and so small. There is room for so many stories. And yes, not everybody's going to like every story, and not everybody's going to identify with every story, but you don't have to, because there's
Not
something for
yeah, not
everybody.
everything is going to be made for me. You know what?
No,
Twilight was not made for me.
no, but
I find it
tons of people still went to see
I
it.
I find it bizarre that people liked it, but I don't care that they did. Like
50 Shades of
it doesn't
Grey, not made for me.
it doesn't hurt me that people went to see 50 Shades of Grey. Am I
No,
going to go see it? No.
no. But
But why
go
would I
see
care if
it.
other people do?
As long as it's not, like freaking, what propaganda stuff wrapped
Yeah.
up in a pretty package. As long as it's not that, I'm cool.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean that's a
Yeah,
completely
that's
different thing.
that's something else.
Yeah, but just like regular media,
Hmm.
who cares?
Yeah. And speaking of regular media, Shockwave Part 1.
It was, I don't want to say mediocre, but
I will.
it could have been better.
It I Compared to some of the episodes in this season, it's not the worst episode, but I have to judge it on the fact that it's one, a cliffhanger, and two, a season finale.
Yeah, I think for me, again, because of knowing the time period that this came out in, um, after I think the way the episode ended was
Mhm.
great, because
Yes,
like
agreed.
if you didn't know any better, you would be like, what's gonna happen?
Is it Archer in the future now? Does he never get back to Enterprise?
But
Yeah.
if it, I mean, that's kind of how Discovery worked,
Hmm.
and it's working great for Discovery. Like season 3 of
Yeah.
Discovery was really good. Um,
I wonder if they actually took that note and they're like, what if we had kept Archer in the future? Or if Archer came back to an altered timeline?
See, that's what I was hoping for, is that he would go back and he wouldn't recognize things. Like
Mhm.
things would be like just
Slightly different.
slightly off and slightly different to
Hmm.
signify that, that things
Like
changed.
maybe Phlox was human and Travis was
Denobulan.
what Denobulan, and maybe Reed was Vulcan and T'Pol was British.
Or the people were still, like, everyone was still who they were, but now people were in different roles.
Oh yeah, yeah. Even that, maybe T'Pol was actually
Maybe
Trip.
yeah, or T'Pol was like the like back on Earth, like working with Starfleet there, and
Oh
he had a completely different first officer.
yeah,
Or
she could be. Oh, that would have been crazy if they had have actually switched the roles, and it would have been T'Pol is
was it
the
not Savick?
yeah, something like that.
Saval.
Saval. No, no, no. That's the teachings of Saval.
Hmm.
That's the
No,
book.
that's Suvak.
Suvak. Oh, okay.
Or
Well,
Surak.
the
Surak.
the the
Surak.
ambassador,
Surak.
Serac. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So Ambassador Saval. Yeah, if she had been the ambassador and Saval had been his first mate.
Right. Yeah, like there's all kinds of directions that they could have gone with. Like, okay, well, why is it? Because at the end of the day, the temporal Cold War like evened out. Nothing inherently changed. There were no, again, there were no
They're
stakes.
so
Everything,
they're basically fighting kind of like, I guess, Loki, to keep the timeline the same.
exactly. Like everything that they did negated all the things that the bad guys were doing. So
Hmm.
there was an episode of Voyager that was the weird ones where they started melting, and they didn't know what was going on, like things on the
Oh,
ship.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was like, what was that, the Year from Hell?
I think so. Yeah.
And then at the end of the episode, it's like, that wasn't actually the Voyager, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh,
They
so
would have
nothing that
faked
happened in this episode
episode
actually made a difference.
matter.
Nothing mattered.
Yeah. And I felt cheated in that episode because at first I'm starting to be like, oh my God. And then when I realized, oh, these are the people from the planet, that they stopped at and the fake versions of them
Right. Now,
became real. It's like,
if it was the real people from Voyager and like they did some temporal thing and went back and, you know, like changed it, I would be like, all right, you know, this was a fun episode that reset the status quo to what it was. Nothing mattered, but we know that there were actually stakes here.
yes. Yeah.
But with that
And
not being the real Voyager crew, I was like, well, why did I watch this?
that's always, to be fair, both this being what, 2002,
Mm,
you know, being 2002, and TV audiences weren't yet really exposed to that kind of jarring
yeah.
nature. I mean, unless you watched frickin' soap operas in which they did that stuff all the time. But you
Like,
know, people
haha,
are
I built a weather machine, so now your cousin will actually want to date me. Haha.
ah, George, you're not really dead. No, I was deid, but now I'm not. What, you're a zombie? No.
I'm George's twin
Okay.
brother, but I
I'm
came
George
back to take his
to
place.
take his place. Which in Arrested Development, I love that you know, he played those two characters. Um anyway, we shouldn't talk about him because he's one of the people that has those allegations against him,
Mm.
unfortunately. I wish he didn't, but anyway. But yeah, it's like I do gotta give the writers credit for trying to up the stakes,
Yeah,
and
it just
and maybe had I watched this in 2002, and I would have been 20
too.
20 21. No, I'd be 21. I was born in 81, so I'd have been 21. Um, so you know, I'd have been 21, 20 or 21, depending on that. What's the air date?
Uh, this would have been like the fall, not the fall, the spring, I think.
Uh,
Yeah, May 22nd.
May 22nd. So I was still 20. Um, but yay me. Um, as I'm about to turn 40. Um, but so maybe 20-year-old me would have watched this and been like, holy crap. But I don't know. The show only lasted 4 seasons. So maybe I would have been like, two.
Yeah,
I don't know.
but I mean, you also wouldn't have known that it only lasted 4 seasons in 2002 because it hadn't ended yet.
That's true, but wasn't it already getting kind of backlash at the beginning of the first season?
That happens with all of Star Trek.
That's true.
Every single Star Trek series that's come out, people have been like, "This isn't my Star Trek.
Right.
My Star Trek was TOS. My Star Trek was TNG. My Star Trek was Deep Space Nine. My Star Trek was Voyager."
Yeah. I don't
And
know if
it's like,
anybody calls Enterprise their Star Trek, though, to be honest.
I don't know. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. I
But
can see somebody calling all the others. My stepfather called Voyager his Star Trek because he loved Janeway.
yeah,
Um, you know,
but
so
like
I get it.
it's you know same thing with Star Wars. People were like,
Yeah.
"Oh, Empire
Oh,
Strikes Back. That movie sucked."
yeah.
30 years later, people were like, "No, Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars
Yes.
movie."
Yeah.
So
And how
it's
time changes.
yeah. So like
Yeah.
that's going on right now with Discovery. People are like giving it shit because they're calling it like woke and SJW stuff and whatever. But 10 years from now, people are gonna look back at it and they're gonna be like, "Oh, this was actually a really good series,"
Yeah.
because
And yeah.
that's what happens.
That is what happens. And Doctor Who. You know, it's always, you know, that's not my doctor. Okay, I like him.
Yeah.
You know,
Um.
and that's not to say that, you know, everybody says your first doctor is the first one that you like. You know,
My favorite is still Christopher Eccleston.
Eccleston's my favorite.
I like all of the others.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed David Tennant. I really
Mm,
enjoyed Matt Smith.
yep.
Um, what's his name?
Capaldi.
Capaldi was good. I wasn't necessarily a fan of the writing throughout his
Hmm.
entire run.
Yeah.
But
I liked him as the doctor.
I did like in the episodes where that did excel.
Yeah.
I thought were really good.
And
Um,
him and who was his Clara.
yeah,
Uh
Clara.
that was some good
Clara
stuff.
was great.
She was phenomenal.
And
Arguably my favorite. Although I love Rose too.
I really liked Martha.
Martha's great. They're all wonderful. There's not a
I
companion I
wasn't a
don't
big
like.
fan of Donna.
I like Donna.
She was
I
all
like
right.
Donna.
I was just kind of eh. Um,
I think I like her because I knew of her prior to her work on the show because she's a comedian
yeah.
in the BBC, and I really loved the work that I had seen her do beforehand. So I was really excited to see her hand
I
in
mean,
that.
I did really enjoy both episodes that where she can't where like the first the introduction to her
Hmm.
with the giant spider lady
Yes.
episode
Hmm.
where she just kind of like appeared on the TARDIS and Tennant was like, "What?
What are you doing here?
What?" And like they're both screaming at each other for some reason. It's like,
Yeah.
and Tennant is just like confused. It's just like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Where am I? What, send me back." Blah, blah, blah. He's like, "How'd you get here?" And it's
It
going
just
back and
goes.
forth.
I
And
think
then
for me, what I love. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. And then the episode where she came back to be the companion,
Hmm.
when she hunted him down, and he's like, "Oh no."
You again. Um, what I really love about Donna is her finale. How because
Mm-hmm.
every one gets a different one, and I love most of the finales. There's a couple companions I was like, I didn't really care about that finale, but I still like them.
Well,
Um,
the thing that I did like about her, her run was that she wasn't a romantic interest for the Doctor.
and that's exactly it. Is that it was purely friendship, kind
Yeah,
of like the Bonds. You know, Amy and Rory. You know, it's
yeah.
all about the friendship,
I
and
that but that's also one of the things I liked about Martha is that with Martha it didn't start off that way, but over the course of the year that she was on it, she kind of started to be like, "Oh, shit, I like this dude."
yeah,
And
which is yeah.
that's why she left was because she was like, "I can't I don't want to be in this situation."
Okay, so I know we're basically at time and it's late for me. I gotta be up. I gotta be to work at 8:30 in the morning.
Oh,
But I've got a full day. I'm at Universal and I'm at Pirates. Um, but quick question. So just considering this first season,
yeah.
and as we all know, in any Star Trek, there ends up being the hookups. You know, there ends up being at least one coupling, if not more than that. Um, at this point, without the knowledge of what happens in the future, because obviously we know how the series ends, who at the end of season one, are you sitting there thinking, oh, they're going to try to match these two up? Or I think these are the two characters whose storyline would go good together.
I mean, definitely to Paul and Trip.
Yeah.
I mean that was kind of apparent
Okay.
in the season. I think, like it seemed like they were trying to do that with Archer a little bit, but knowing that he was the captain, I knew that that wasn't going to happen because this was military, more or
Yeah.
less. So uh, that wasn't going to be a thing. Um,
See, I was actually thinking it was going to be Archer and T'Pol because they were going to do the forbidden love thing.
hmm. um, Outside of that, I don't know if I think anyone else was going to hook up because I don't really see Hoshi with any of them.
I kind of was interested to see if they were going to try to pair Hoshi and Travis.
Okay, I could see that
I just
a little bit.
because the two of them didn't get a lot of screen time.
Yeah,
I was thinking that something they would do to correct that would be pair them together so that you get two for one screen time.
right. Yeah,
I'm glad they didn't. I don't think it would have been the right choice, but I kind of thought that was the direction they were going
yeah. I
or
don't know.
might have gone.
Yeah. Um. But no, so overall, what did you think of season one?
Season one overall, I thought it was a strong season. For me, there were more strong episodes than not. And it took some chances. You know, Shuttle Pod 1 still to do it in the middle of your first season to do an episode like that, I think is kind of gutsy. Um, I enjoyed the groundwork that was laid for a lot of the stuff and not, you know, eliminating the knowledge of 2, 3, and 4. You know, the Suliban and the again the people from Detained,
The
the
Tendarans.
the Tendarans, the Future War stuff, all of this that was kind of set up, plus the hostility from the Vulcan High Council. I was very excited to see where it was going to end up in the future seasons. So I feel it ends with a lot of promise, even though I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of this finale episode. Uh, all in all, of all the first seasons, I definitely think this is a better first season than TNG. Um,
But
than
TNG's
TNG.
first 3 seasons were really rough.
They were tough. They were tough. I love the cast, but the
Yeah.
writing is just not there yet. Um,
If you watch Chaos on the Bridge, it'll explain all of that.
yes, and I do know a
Yeah,
bit of the
yeah.
behind the scenes on it too. Um, I think I like it better than Voyager season one. Just because of the potential promise. The end of Voyager season one, I just could see where they were going in the sense of, oh, we're going to get a monster of the week or a monster of the season kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing because they're just moving. There's no home base. They're trying to get away. So they're kind of constantly be moving away from things that I start to like. So I'll never get to really stay with one thing long enough to really appreciate it. Other than the crew of Voyager.
Right, right.
Um, and then maybe DS9 is probably the only one that I'd say might have a stronger first season. Um, but I do remember not gravitating to the crew of DS9 as quickly as I did to the crew of Enterprise.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, DS9 is my favorite series,
Yeah.
so I think I season one. I would actually say Enterprise season one probably rivals DS9 for me as the best first season. Um, Discovery's first season was also really good. I know you haven't seen it yet,
Yeah.
but it had its fair share of issues.
Hmm.
But as Star Trek first seasons go, I definitely think it was one of the stronger ones.
Yeah.
Um, but Enterprise is definitely up there too. Like rewatching it now. I like it. I think I like it better than I remembered enjoying it. Because like
Hmm.
when the first time I watched it, I remember just watching it because it was Star Trek, not necessarily because I had any interest in it. Just because I was like, oh, it's Star Trek, I should watch it because it's the kind of stuff that I'm into.
Yeah.
So it was more out of an obligation. But
Right.
now watching it, it's like, have you ever watched a TV show and you get so far into it and you're like, this show's gotten really bad, but I've watched the first 6 seasons of it, so I need to keep
I
going and
need to
see how it
go.
ends.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh,
I've.
that happened to me with Smallville. I got so
Mm,
far into it and then I was like, it can't go on for that much longer. I'm just gonna
yeah.
I'll watch season 7. It'll be fine,
Hmm.
and that'll probably be it. And then it got renewed for season 8, and then it got renewed for season 9, and then it got renewed for season 10. A couple of those later seasons were actually pretty good, but like I remember like 5 and 6, I was like,
That's
7
kind of
and
like Lost for me.
and then like seasons 8 and 9 were pretty solid, and then season 10 was kind of rocky.
Yeah.
Same thing with Supernatural. Like I watched all 15 years of Supernatural, but somewhere in the middle, I was like, I should stop watching this. But I was
Hmm.
like, season 10 is probably going to be it. And then it got renewed for 11, and then it got renewed for 12, and then it got renewed for 13 and 14 and 15. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to keep
Well,
watching
it's
until
on
the
the
end.
WB. WBs tend to last a bit longer
Yeah,
because they've got that kind of hardcore fan base. And also WB seems to not care as much about ratings. Or
CW. Yeah,
CW.
it
CW.
was WB.
And then
Like
it moved to
Smallville is the last show that started when it was UPN, and then moved
Oh,
to it
that's
when it
right.
switched to CW, and then WB was the one that merged with with
CW.
UPN to become CW.
They just don't seem to care as much about ratings, you
Or sorry,
know.
Supernatural was the last one that went from UPN to
To
CW.
CW.
Yeah,
Got you. Got you.
Small
Yeah,
Smallville was that first one that to end from that
I,
split.
I, I completely forgot about UPN, but I do remember the WB frog.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
So okay. So but before we end the show, I'm gonna ask you this question because I don't know how
Oh, Donnie has
how
a good question in the comments too.
I'm looking forward to the animated sequel. I think, given it's been 10 years now, I think, since it's ended, somewhere around there. So I think the time in between has shifted the way storytelling has been told since that show was on the air. So I think the whatever new thing they do, should be interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I'll
Cool.
watch it.
I do not have Smallville in my catalog of
Mm.
things that I know, so I will not weigh in on that. But
But no,
I will say Superman is not my cup of tea. As we
Super
were talking,
Superman and Lois is really good.
yeah, I have heard, and maybe I'll
It's
give it a shot.
like,
I did used to watch the Dean Cain, Lois and Clark.
yeah, oh
Um,
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
I liked that.
Yeah, I mean
But
that was fun. That
Superman as a character is not my jam.
So before I ask you this final question, just fun fact
Yeah.
about Lois and Clark, the Adventures of Superman or whatever it was called. Um, that TV show is why Superman died in '93
In the comics?
in the comics.
Oh,
So
because they wanted to kill off the show?
no, so they knew that they were going to get to a point in the show where Lois and Clark and slash Superman would get married. So
Yeah.
they wanted to wait to do that in the comics until it happened on the show, so that they could market both of them together. Like, oh, the wedding of Lois and Clark are getting married. So they'd been
Oh.
planning to do that, but they were like, we need to make up some time. We got to stall. So that whole storyline came about because they wanted to stall for time to wait
So the
for Lois and Clark
Doomsday
to get.
storyline, one of the darkest storylines in Superman lore, came about because they wanted to hold off for a wedding?
Yeah,
And then
because
they end up creating the four other Supermen, uh, all of that, which is great stuff.
yeah, all of that came from the decision to stall for time, to do the wedding until Lois and
Huh.
Clark got married on the TV show.
Cool. Cool.
Just random random weird
I
stuff.
like it. I like
Okay,
it.
so final question. I don't know how this came up with
I
with
do have
Shay and
one
I.
too. I do have a
Um,
question.
because you mentioned Michigan J Frog. If
Yeah.
you found
Michigan.
if
Yeah.
you found an animal
Uh-huh.
that talked,
Yes.
what would you do?
What is it saying to me?
Like, yeah, we'll say it's singing. It's doing the Michigan J
It's
Frog. We'll say it's doing the Michigan J Frog thing. Maybe it's a squirrel. Maybe it's a rabbit. Maybe it's a frog. Doesn't really matter. You're standing in an elevator with it in a box, and it just starts singing. And the other person in the elevator looks over at you, and you're like, "It's this thing." You open up the box, and it's not singing.
not singing. I would be laughing my ass off, I think, at first, because I'd just be like, "What? No way! Oh my God!" I would geek out. I'd be like, "This is the freaking coolest thing ever!" I'd probably do the whole thing of like, "Look," and then it
Right,
doesn't
and
do
that doesn't
anything,
do
and then
anything.
everybody thinks I'm crazy.
Right.
I would probably be that
You'd be
guy,
that guy.
just like in the show. I would be that guy. Um, but then eventually I'd probably calm down and realize like, oh, this is
I
just an us thing. All right, cool.
Where this is all in my head. I gotta
Yeah.
go talk to someone.
Well, maybe 10 years down the line I'd go talk to somebody. But at first I would accept it as reality that this animal only wants to sing in front of me. And I'd actually probably go up to other animals and be like, huh?
See, that's what I would do. Like that would be my. I'm like, okay, I've got a talking whatever. Let's go find
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah, I'd be like, am I Aquaman of the animals? Am I like Cinderfella? That would probably be my first reaction. I'd probably laugh and just be giggly and be like, "Oh my God, guys, you're never gonna believe." Okay, you're never gonna
No.
believe this.
Okay.
Um, I have a question.
Okay.
Do we need to talk about any of the fun facts of this episode?
I
Are
mean,
there anything that stood out to you?
not really.
Okay.
Let me pull these back up here. Because I mean, we already talked about the fact that originally there was,
Unnamed episode.
there wasn't a title
Untitled.
for it,
Yeah.
and that they were trying to figure out whether or not they wanted to add the season on a cliffhanger. Um, we know, like, obviously from the way the future looks, it was a reference to the World Trade Center, because that was a big thing at the time.
Right.
But really it was just, yeah, none of the facts like really stood out to me where I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's really nothing. They decided they weren't gonna reveal the person, the humanoid figure,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and they never do.
Yeah. No, I don't think they do.
I don't think they do. I don't remember. Now maybe they did in a way that like my memory just is like, oh, that's how you did it, but I don't know.
Yeah. No. I'm gonna click on it. Humanoid figure. Mysterious individual who acted as the benefactor of the Cabal in his role as a representative for a faction in the Temporal Cold War.
And they don't identify him.
No name. Nope.
That's really freaking annoying. I hope somewhere, I like maybe in comics that they made about Enterprise, or maybe in Picard or something that they address that.
I think it would be really cool if they address it in Discovery, because Discovery is now
Oh,
in
that's right. That's
the
about.
Discovery is past the Temporal Cold War.
Good night, Donnie. We're heading out too.
Good night, Donnie. So like if they were going to address that anywhere, I think this would be the place for it.
Cool.
But yeah, I don't know. Before we
Do
go,
it. Do it.
let me plug a couple of things. Tomorrow night I will be back here live at 11:40 for our watch along of Star Wars: The Bad Batch. As with all of our watch alongs, we're not actually showing it on the stream because we don't want to get a copyright strike on our channel, because that would be bad.
Yeah.
Friday, we're down. Saturday, we are going to be live from the Comic Bug, talking to let me get this guy's name so I don't screw it up here. The Ranger shows will be from there. I hope we do a retro, because it's been, I think, 3 weeks since we've done one. But
Oh man. So Retro
is,
Ranger is getting the Star Trek treatment right now.
Right, yeah. It's just been because like first we had Walter Jones at the Comic Bug. The next week week was the
Jason David Frank.
Well, it was supposed to be Jason David Frank, but he ended up having to reschedule. But it was also the digital Power Morphicon event. So we didn't do it that week. And then this last week, just last minute, I didn't have, like, no one was free.
Tech issues, right?
Oh, no one was free. So I was like, oh, all right, great. Like everyone was just like, oh, hey, I can't do the show today, and I was like, great.
Well, if there's ever a Saturday that I am free and that happens again, just pull me on and we could be like, talk about this Power Rangers episode that you have
no idea
about.
Well, luckily the Power Ranger episodes are only like 20 minutes each. So
no, I can watch the episode, but it's not like I'll have a bunch of
backstory. Yeah,
I'll just be like, that kick was great.
I mean, that's where I was when I came in with the Lost Galaxy? No, Power Rangers in Space was the first season of Power Rangers that I had watched since like Mighty Morphin. So I had no.
Are they not called Mighty Morphin anymore? Is it not Mighty Morphin and the rest of it?
No, so it's just Power Rangers, and then each season is, so like the first season was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Then we had Power Rangers Zeo. Then we had Power Rangers Turbo. Then there was Power Rangers Alien Rangers or something like that.
Got you. Then, so it's not Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Dino
Ranger. No, Power Rangers in Space, Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. Now we're on Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. The next one is Power Rangers SPD, I think.
Is that like
chips? Or RPM? RPM? No, not RPM. I don't know. I forget which one the next one is. But then like the current one is Power Rangers Dino Fury.
Right. So, wait, that's current?
That's current.
Dino Fury? Hadn't that been out for years?
No, there was one like 10 years ago, 12 years ago that was Dino Charge.
Oh. So they just went back to dinosaurs.
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
anyway, so Saturday it's the regular Ranger wrap up will be a live Q&A. Well, this might be in addition to the regular Ranger wrap up. I'm honestly not sure. But we're doing a live Q&A at 3 o'clock Pacific time with Frank Gogol, who is the writer of the recently released Power Rangers Edge of Darkness comic. Came out today.
Cool.
So we will be there at a signing with him and doing a live Q&A on
Dope.
the show. And then Sunday is Sunday's
That's
packed.
July 4th.
Yeah, it is. So I don't know about the morning shows. Typically it would be the Retro Sentai wrap up. It's all connected, and then later on at night, the Illuminerdi Wrestling Order, followed by Rick and Morty, smoke along. I don't know if the wrestling is going on, but we will be back for Rick and Morty because I do believe there is a new episode. If not, then we'll be on with that next week. But I'm pretty sure there is one.
Cool.
I think that's all I got. What are your shifts at Universal if anyone wants to come see you?
Oh God, no! I don't know if I'm allowed to.
No?
No, I'm not sure I'm allowed to say that kind of thing. I can just say I work at Universal.
I know.
I
I know
don't.
at Disney. I know at Disney you can't do that because no one's supposed to know who anyone is.
Yeah,
I
I
don't.
mean,
I
and right now
I
you
don't
wouldn't
know
know
if
it's
that's a
me
thing.
anyway because I'm wearing a mask.
Mm, mm.
But
What?
oh, is enough of your glass empty?
Oh
So we can
yes.
see the
Yes. So let me.
uh
Maybe.
no. Oh yeah, it's better if you don't put your hand. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you can see
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah. There it is.
That's
There it is.
yeah,
This is
nice.
the engineering
Mm.
emblem.
From
Or
which
sciences. That might be
from which
sciences.
season? Enterprise?
Discovery.
Discovery. Yeah, but yeah, no, I don't want to tell everybody my hours of work. But yes, if for anybody who watches the show, if you happen to come by Universal Studios and you do happen to recognize me, feel free to say hello. I will not say hello to you in the manner of any Star Trek way because I am contracted to act in the manner of the characters that I portray.
Of course.
But I will definitely be thankful that you stopped by, and it would be a nice interaction to have. But
Really, before we go off, just one more really quick story about a no for meeting people that you know from
yeah,
online.
uh-huh.
Joe and I and some of our other cast members were out at I want to say it was either WonderCon. It was some convention that we were at. It was one of the smaller ones.
Sure.
So it might have been like LA Comic Con, or it might have been Power Morphicon or something else. Someone recognized Joe from all the Power Ranger stuff that he had been doing on the channel.
Yeah.
Followed him into the bathroom.
And
as Joe was starting to take a leak, was like, "Hey, dude, I love what you do on the channel. I just wanted to shake your hand and say thank you." And he's like, sure, but can we wait till I'm done?"
I mean, I get that there are people that have, they're shy, and so they don't want to approach somebody in the middle of a large group, but a bathroom?
Yeah, that's
yeah. Please don't anybody follow me to a bathroom. Not that you'd be able to at Universal, but yeah,
however,
don't do that.
feel free to follow me on Twitter at Vogon Poetry Slam, or they can follow you on Instagram at Incline Nation.
Yeah.
I'm also on Instagram at Vogon Poetry Slam, but I rarely use it. So I think my last picture from there is like maybe a calzone that I made here a couple of months ago.
I need to be better with my Instagram as well.
I need to be better with like all of my social media stuff. But yeah, so that will do it for us for tonight. Again, check back with us tomorrow for the Bad Batch. I think we're at the halfway point, so it should be fun.
Yep.
I'm gonna just sit here awkwardly until I find the thing. I'm gonna keep rambling.
Okay, I'll stare at everybody.
Stop talking. Yeah, I'll do that too. I think this is it.